just been in a car accident. She landed at JFK at 2 a.m. couldn't find my dad. Her wallet had been stolen. She'd just gotten bit by a gigantic dog. She quit her job in Greece and needed a flight home. She bounced a check. She's moving back to New York, moving back to LA, moving back to New York, moving back to LA, moving back to New York, moving back to LA. I think we kind of got the picture here. For years, I wondered whether the phone would ever ring, and I'd pick it up and hear Z's voice calmly say, "Hi, how are you?" The second word is spontaneous. Z thought nothing of moving to LA when she was just 21, and then in rapid succession moving into no less than 30 apartments over the next 14 years. There was always a better deal, or else drama with dogs, neighbors, landlords, or roommates, and Z became the master of moving. About a decade ago, when John and Z and I were all home for a holiday, one of us remarked how funny it was that how different the three of us sort of grew up, or turned out. A realtor and businessman, and an actress, and an academic. And my father, of course, immediately pointed out that the thing that united us was the fact that none of us had a real job. Which I think he meant, like, none of us had a secure 9-to-5 existence. We were all more or less independent contractors. And Z was arguably the most independent. Throughout her 20s, she worked. She thought nothing of changing jobs to support her acting and writing career. She worked in a theater ticket window, as a nanny, as an assistant in a lawyer's office, in an advertising agency, as a waitress, as a Barbie model for the New York City toy show, as a hair model in Tokyo, pretending to be the Indiana popcorn queen on the TV show To Tell the Truth, working the graveyard shift on Wall Street, setting up PowerPoint presentations for executives who needed them at 9 a.m., blowing up balloons for a party store, forgot that one, and even for a very brief period for 1-800 Dentist. I'm sure I missed a few. Oh right, the Princess and the Mech Warrior video series. The third word is sensitive. Take it from me, getting into an argument with Z can have explosive consequences. Many of which end with her storming out of the house / apartment / car / cottage / hotel. My advice is to just nod quietly, apologize quickly, no matter who you think is at fault. Things will be much smoother this way. Oh, and whatever you do not tell her she's overreacting. Trust me, this only makes things much worse. But as I got older and our relationship evolved, I've come to appreciate these traits much more. Z's drama means that life is never boring. She entertained our family endlessly on trips home with stories of auditions gone wrong. If you haven't heard the one about the cheerleading audition, I really recommend it. Even more deeply, I've come to appreciate that the drama around Z is a result of the fact that she experiences life fully and richly, and I think we could all use a little of that. Her spontaneity is what led her to launch an incredibly successful bi-coastal nanny agency and fall head over heels in love with a wonderful guy. One of the things I most admire about Z is her willingness to live with uncertainty and her pursuit of what she wants. And she's someone who just doesn't settle. And whether it's in the choice of where she wants to live, or the job that she'll do, or the man that she'll marry. And her sensitivity means that she's incredibly caring. I have to admit that I think I largely took my relationship with Z for granted until after my girls were born. She was at the hospital for both their births, the whole time, even the one that took 24 hours. And I don't think she's ever been away from them for more than 2 weeks. And it was Z who taught me how to put a onesie on over a newborn's head. And we flew across the country literally dozens of times to help me when my husband was overseas. Until that moment with the newborn and the onesie, I would say that Z and I had a pretty classic big sister, little sister relationship. She called me with problems, and I helped to solve them. And this has really changed in the last few years, and my only regret is that it took me so long to figure out that my little sister could help me solve a few things too. When Z got engaged, in typical big sister fashion, I called her a few days later to tell her that she should get the ring appraised and insured. Her immediate reaction was to interrupt and say, "Oh yeah, Miles took care of that and he put it on his homeowner insurance." And I have to admit, I had two reactions. The first one was to think, this guy's a homeowner. The second one was to feel strangely liberated. Later, I found out that when Z turned to Miles and told him the story of what told him what I had called for, he looked at her and said, "Oh, I get it now. I'm the new Cynthia." Obviously, there's much more to your relationship than that. But this is just to say that Milas already fully seems to appreciate what it took me a lifetime to figure out. And that just makes me very, very happy for both of you. Oh, and it also means that I no longer have to hold my breath when the phone rings.
Thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, our final speaker using the